This body has been, done, and felt so much that the story it's journeyed through has found its meeting with the soul. Do we hide it or do we heal it? Is it true? Does it define us? The eyes we hold has witnessed what was felt, transforming the mind and moving it back and forth between what's true, what's false, what's real, and what's not. The inner workings, wonderings, and wanderings that we want to follow, find that courage deep within to let go of what we've known and transmute what we've been holding. It's time to let go. It's time to heal our bodies. It's time to hear and listen to the voices of our bodies. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices of the Body, the podcast. My name is Love Ashley Elaine, and I am here to be your guide as we journey through this life and healing the body, the mind, and the soul. This episode, we are celebrating 1 year of Voices of the Body. Yes, 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 yes. First and foremost, thank you to all of you who have stayed tuned in since episode 1. Since I said out loud that I wanted to start a podcast, thank you, thank you, thank you. You all are the co-creators of this space, of just everything that comes into this space and everything that comes out of this space. So I am so grateful for each and every one of you. I'm proud of myself. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I'm so proud of myself. This episode, we are talking about the power of consistency, what it means to be consistent, the ups, the downs, the lefts, rights, all the things. When life starts lifing, how do you stay consistent with your goals? How do you stay consistent with the things that you desire to do? So prepare your mind, body, and soul as we get into this episode and celebrate 1 year of Voices of the Body. Happy birthday, Voices of the Body. So go ahead and find a posture that allows the body to relax, right? Really keeping that front body open, really grounding down through the feet, grounding down through the tailbone. And just take a minute to feel your feet, feel your tailbone, really touching the ground or the chair or whatever you might be sitting on. Option here, if it's safe for you in your space and in your body, to bring your gaze down your nose or gently close your eyes. Really feel into your space in your body and what is available to you in this moment. We know that consistency can be a very challenging thing because we're human. Emotions come and they go, they flow, and they sometimes direct us in what our day is supposed to look like and feel like. But when it's something that we're passionate about, when it's something that We love, when we believe in it, when we see it, right? We first see something within our heart and in our third eye. We have visions of it, we have dreams of it. We know that what we're working towards, there's an end goal. It's not just to benefit us, but to benefit our children, our family, our community, right? Just because we love something and we're good at it doesn't mean that consistency is an easy thing. Doesn't mean that we're always going to feel like doing that thing. But when we tap into our solar plexus, when we tap into our soul, right? Bring your hand to that space, wherever you consider the middle of your body. Really tap into that space, coming back to that willpower, that discernment, that consistency, right? Now, this isn't to say when the body is telling you that it needs to rest, that it needs a moment to recharge, that it needs a moment to dive deeper into its recalibrating and rebuilding and restructuring, that you don't listen to it. Listen to those spaces, right? Listen to that day of rest. Even schedule out a couple days where you do nothing, right? Yet the fruit of consistency allows us to be able to move into those spaces of rest where we're not agonizing, we're not blaming, we're not shaming ourselves, but we're allowing ourselves to really be present and just being. So when consistency becomes a challenge, we have to tap into what our motivation is, right? What has allowed us to come into this space of, yes, this is what I need to do. This is what I desire to do. This is what is good for me to do. This is what feels authentic for me to do. This is what I enjoy doing. This is what I love. When consistency becomes a challenge, we have to come back to that why. Why did I start this in the first place? Why did I get the prompting to do this in the first place? What did I endure that said I need to do this so that my kids don't starve, so that my kids don't struggle, so that my kids don't have to worry, so that my community can grow, so that my community can see something different, so that my family can see something different, so that I can build something that is long lasting. When consistency becomes a challenge, we have to come back to the why. What is your why? Your why is your motivation. It doesn't matter what the thing is that you're doing, that you're building, that you're growing, that you're lacking consistency in, right? It's the why, coming back to the why. So take a pause and come back to your why. Why did you begin this in the first place? Why was this the thing that you felt led to do, to create, to write, to build, to lead, to structure, to do? Why is this not only good for you, but why is it good for the betterment of the people around you? So feel into that. Feel into your soul, that solar plexus, that middle portion of your body that sits right behind your belly button. Because sometimes our consistency will get tested, right? We want more, but we have to keep going and stay fruitful, stay consistent, stay faithful to what is. Even if we're not seeing a result that we want, the consistency is what's being tested. That's what's being drawn. That's what the work is asking for. So take a nice big inhale and exhale. just come out of your mind and drop into your body, and let the why come back to you. Nice big inhale. Fill up that belly. Expand the why as you exhale, releasing anything that's trying to keep you from staying consistent. Last one, nice big inhale. Filling up the belly, really firing up that solar plexus. And exhale. And I invite you to pause here, maybe take a minute to still sit with your why, right? If you're feeling like inconsistency has been a thing lately, take a minute to feel into your why. Why did you start this? Connect with your breath. Bring one hand to your belly. Connect with that energy. Connect back to what that thing is. And take some time to journal this out. And we will be right back. And we are back. So, first of all, thank you for coming back. Season 3. We got a season 3 on the books. Ha. This episode is really, really important to me. Because as I said in the intro, celebrating 1 year, one full, intense, crazy, liberating, disasterful year of Voices of the Body. I want to talk about consistency, but I think like there's a conversation that I had with a friend that I met out here in Siem Reap, Siem Reap, Cambodia. That's where I'm at right now. Um, just a amazing human being. Like there's like the connection has been like so healing, so intentional, so vibrant, so much healing, so much self-discovery, like for the both of us, right? It's probably one of my healthiest relationships, and it just started, right? Like I just met this person, which I'm learning not to put time on like when you meet people and how they have an impact on your life. Um, so we were having a conversation the other day, and he asked me what was the most transformative, because I told him, I said, I really miss having access to all of my books. Like I had in my apartment a literal library, right? And he had asked me how long it took me to read Yoga and a Dark Night of the Soul. And I don't you like I remember when I bought it, it was maybe around this time last, not this time last year, but it was like maybe August, September last year. I said, but like life was happening, and I had to put it down and like kind of take it in bits and pieces, and then I would read something and it would make me want to go read something else for like deeper clarity or understanding or reference or whatever. So like I just allowed myself to flow through that the way that I needed to. And then when I got here in Cambodia in April, I had space to like really like not rush through it, but like read it, right? Embody it, all of it, right? So, but I said to him, I said, there's, I think any book that I choose to read, because fiction books are hard for me to read. Like I can't read them. I think my brain is already very imaginative. Both and like, I was telling him, I said one fiction book that I couldn't keep my hands off of when I was in like middle school or high school was The Coldest Winter Ever. And then the sequel came out maybe like a year or two ago, Life After Death. I bought it. I started reading it, but I didn't finish it, right? Um, but I remember reading like The Coldest Winter Ever like several times. Like I was so engrossed in that storyline and like how winter was and then her family dynamics, all of that. I kind of want to read that again. Um, but then I remembered, I said to him, I was like, man, like, but there was another book that I read that I feel like I shouldn't be reading. Like, I feel like the age that I was at, I should not have been reading this book. He was like, what was it? I said, you know who Russell Simmons is? He's like, yeah, because he's from London, blah, blah, blah. And um, I was like, yeah, he wrote a book called Sex, Money, and Drugs. And it talks about like him, like with Def Jam and, Run DMC and like just this industry life. I want to read that again too because in middle school, things are completely different now than what they are for me then, right? Wisdom is a little bit different. So, um, but then that just took me back to like a space, man. It took me back to a space where like I was literally watching every single thing and move, production, artist, song, beat, remix, album, TV show, clothing line, what he was driving, him and J-Lo being in the news, everything that Puff Daddy slash Diddy slash whatever he's calling himself now. Well, Love, right? And even that, I'm like, man, I call myself Love now. This is where he is in his journey. Like, call it what you want, right? See it for what it is. But and then like seeing Jay-Z, right? Like he's on a whole nother caliber, but also like the things that he was discovering and doing and the 4040 nightclub, the different drinks that he had come out. And then you had Russell Simmons, right? He had Fat Farm, Def Jam, all the things he was doing, and then his wife, Kimora Lee Simmons, like, in no way, shape, or form am I advertising these people, right? I have never met these people. I have never also met anybody in my life, in my waking everyday life, that was doing anything that made me say, ooh, I want to do that. Like, I never saw somebody doing something that made me like sit up straight or like say, ooh, I want that, right? There may have been like a season when I was younger where it was like, oh, my aunt had like a really cool Honda with like these banging speakers, and I wrote a story about it in school because I thought it was cool. But then like the exposure just kept coming and coming and coming for something different. And it wasn't about like the glam and the glitz and the money. I believe those things are just in me and they are mine, period, right? It's not even about like working towards those things. Luxury is a lifestyle that I just want, right? It's not for show. It's not, it's, I just like what I like. I'm attracted to what I'm attracted to, right? Um, it was the fact that these people broke barriers in whatever storytelling of pick one thing and do that one thing. And it was like, I don't want to just pick one thing, right? I love doing podcasting. I love teaching asana and teaching yoga and teaching philosophy and doing that work. I love doing workshops, right? I love doing a mixture of things. I love gathering people, right? And didn't even realize that I was like doing it sometimes, right? It takes a really good group of people to have around you to identify what you may not see within yourself, right? Um, like the moguls, right? They're like, and someone said that to me one day. I was talking to them about like this was years ago. I was like, yeah, we should do like a black movie lawn on drive-in or lawn thing, and they were like, yo, you make mogul moves, like community mogul moves, and it's like there's just a bunch of things that like I enjoy doing that just feel really natural to do, right? So I'm sharing this to say, like, this podcast has become something very important to me, very dear to me, very healing for me, right? As I believe, well, I believe, hope, and pray, and also know that it has been for a lot of you, because of the feedback that I get. But it's such a it's one of, right? You know, where like you have multiples of something and it's like page 1 of 10, page 2 of 10, page 3 of 10. Like it's one of. So like coming back to that conversation that I was having with my friend the other day, and I was just like, he was like, your face just like lit up because we were also talking about like candy, like stuff that I just love. And I was like, yeah, like I was telling him what my ultimate goal is of what I want. And he was like, wow. And I was like, yeah. I said, so like me teaching yoga, I said, what you are experiencing like with my teachings and in my classes and like me being here to teach, I said, bro, like I'm literally like mm, just scratching the surface of what it is I really, really want. Like this is a small part of it, right? He was like, yeah, he was like, and what you want is so doable. And I was like, I know it is because I see it and I feel it and it like sits right here. So when I named this episode The Power of Consistency, right? Um, that's why I share that story because it's it comes back to like those people, even though I've never met them, they showed me something that was possible. They showed me something that I could do, not in maybe the realm of how they did it, right? Or how they're still doing it, but in what my lane is, right? What my realm of being a mogul looks like. Um, so the consistency of doing this podcast, right? It's been hard. I'm not even going to sit here and like pretend like it's been like a walk in the freaking park because it hasn't, right? Um, but I think the beauty of it is I've been able to really reflect and look back at that first intro, right? I like accidentally pulled that up and I'm like, man, like I can hear the excitement in that version of love. I can hear that she's reading something, like she wanted to really make sure this was good. Like I can hear the change in confidence from then to now, like, and then listening back to some of the interviews and the episodes, like I think I like manifested some of where I am now in that first season. At least the beginning half of that first season. Um, Even in sharing my story, right? Because there was a space where I was like, okay, I want to share my story, and it's not my whole story, right? But it's a part of my story that really has a huge play in my transformation and the depths of my healing, right? And I think when we move into that space, um, and understand that storytelling isn't about looking for sympathy, isn't about looking for consolement. It's about healing and sharing, right? Storytelling is powerful when we release guilt, when we can release shame and allow our experiences to heal one another, right? The Bible says we heal by our testimony. And there's something said about breaking yourself free from the victim mentality of that story, right? When you think about abuse, there's a story that you like, well, in my experience, I didn't want to attach to it, right? Both and like there was a reality that I also had to come to and identify that this experience is this, right? um so in telling my story, it allowed a lot of other people to set themselves free, to set themselves free from shame, to set themselves free from the bondage of whatever perception their story is trying to make them not believe, right? um the the authority to pick yourself up, right, and live in that power to set yourself free and break free from those chains of telling your story. Like telling your story comes from the soul because it's telling your soul, I want to be cleansed, let me release this, right? So it like when I started this podcast, I was in the thick of a lot of it, like maybe like coming I can't even say coming out of the thick of, but it was just a really strange time for me. But I was very like adamant about starting this podcast, right? And I think it it there was a space where I was like, okay, like I want to learn my voice, right? I want to share my voice. I want to really understand my voice. I want to understand what other people hear in my voice that I have not yet captured, that I have not yet attuned to, that I have not yet felt vibrate within my body, right? And for a long time, like, I don't feel like my voice was being heard. What the issue is the right people weren't hearing it. I was trying to get the wrong people to hear it, right? Because the right people are going to allow you to speak with ease. They're going to allow you to share with calm and with comfort, and they hold and cultivate that space for you, right? And that's essentially what this podcast is. It's me holding space for all of you, right? To be able to take what you need, hear what you need, let what needs to resonate. You learn, you grow, you experience, and you reflect, right? I think the reflection piece is the biggest. So because I'm passionate about my authenticity and I'm passionate about my intentionality, and I'm passionate about um, truth. I'm passionate about healing. I'm passionate about like really honoring myself and others and holding space for people, right? This podcast is essentially my space holding space. That was a weird is that an entendre? I don't know. But so the consistency piece was very important to me, right? Down to the days that I would record, right? The times, the scheduling, the conversations, how I would approach the conversations, how I would vet people to be on this show, right? Because we all have a story, right? That doesn't mean everybody is ready to tell their story, and it doesn't mean everybody's want to share their story is purely intended. And I just had a moment. Doing this podcast for the past year has taught me so much about what I actually can do that I thought like I was not capable of doing, right? Which is time management, right? Is it still a work in progress? Absolutely, because I love to talk. I love to talk. I've created a safe space for me to talk, right? Which then the energy around this mic, the energy around this space that's cultivated creates a safe space for other people to share their stories, right? I've learned deeper discernment because once you say you have a podcast, everybody's like, "Oh, we should do a podcast episode. Oh, we should record this. Oh, we should do an episode on this. Oh, we should do an episode on that." And just because they want to do an episode doesn't mean that it aligns with what my value is of the episodes that I want to put out, right? That doesn't mean I'm also not open to it, but everything is not for everybody, and everybody's thing is not for every moment in time. Ooh, mm, sit on that for a moment, right? Just because it's a good idea doesn't mean that it needs to be a part of my idea, right? It doesn't like it's gotta flow. It's gotta be, yeah. So I was very intentional on who I chose. And I will say, everybody that I've chosen so far to be on my podcast, not once has ever said we should do an episode together. We should do a podcast together. So that speaks in a way where there's like they're literally just like living and doing and being, but they also see and recognize the fruit that can come from this space. It was literally me reaching out to people, right? And I want to keep it that way, um, because people's intentions are not always pure, right? People will try and find a way to use your platform for them to um get on, or and by no means, I don't know nobody in like anything higher than where, I mean, I know people, but that doesn't mean I'm like connected to them in a way, because if I was, I'd be reaching out to them for sponsorship and supporters, but that's not my goal, right? Consistency also asks me to stay intentional, right? Like there was a moment where I was like, okay, I need money to come in, right? And I always say, if money is your motive, then what you're doing, the intention may not come from the heart, right? Do I believe we should be getting paid for the work that we do? Absolutely. I'm going to say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I didn't quit my job. I didn't quit working 9 to 5s. I didn't quit working for corporates and nonprofits and all these jobs that I've had. I've been working since I was like 14, 15 years old. I didn't like at 35 years old say I quit working for jobs and other people in this rat race hamster wheel space to just come and do the things that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, right? That flow authentically and not get paid for them because I still have to live, right? I still have to eat. I still have to pay bills. I still have to do things for myself. I still have a child, right? He's not gone just because there's a sacrifice at play for me to do something different that I've not seen done, right? I'm building here, right? And it looks real janky promoter-ish, right? Um, but consistency is going to ask you your why, right? And I mean, everywhere I've been where like moving out of my apartment, like the getting evicted, let me be clear about what this is, right? And that was a divine setup, and having to move back in with my grandmother, right? Like the setup, like just it's very uncomfortable. Consistency is uncomfortable. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like consistency is uncomfortable, especially when life is lifing, especially when things are moving in a way that you know, never you didn't set out for them to move that way, right? Things are shifting, things are changing. Um, I'm in a whole nother country and like I'm starting like I finished season 2 here in Cambodia and I'm starting season 3 here in Cambodia. So like the consistency is important to me. It's also uncomfortable because my setup has to keep changing. I have to keep readjusting. I have to keep rearranging, right? But it's also taught me that I need stability, right? Whatever that stability looks like, however long that stability is, right? I can't, like, I thought the traveling teacher thing, yoga teacher thing was for me. And then it's like, girl, I'm trying to, like, do I want to travel the world? Absolutely. Do I want to teach and travel the world? My gotta preserve my body, right? I want to like I'm 36. I'm not old. I'm not old at all, right? But I'm aware of where my body is, right? And as much as yoga is fruitful for my body, I also need rest. I also want to make sure I preserve my energy and my limbs, like all of those things, right? So, yeah, like I quickly discovered that that part wasn't for me. But if I'm able to be stationed in a country for a while, oh, that's my alarm. Hold on. See, life be life and no, I'm just up really early and I have like 800 alarms. Um, but if I'm able to be stationed in a space for a while, um, which I love that idea, right? I love that idea a lot more. It can keep me consistent. So, what is consistency, right? When we hear this word, and thanks to Google, there were several different like definitions of it. So, one was the measure of behavior, treatment, and or technique. Mm, right. Another one was the way substance is being held together, cultivating space, right? If we want to look at it that way, the consistency in how you cultivate that space, the consistency in what's holding that space, right? So the more consistent I am with doing what is integral for me and valuable for me. And um like I said, like if any like I've anyone that's been on the show, they've never said, "Hey, we should do a podcast episode together." It's always been me reaching out to them, right? That's integral for me, right? Because I have to see, notice, sense, feel, understand, look in from my perspective of what the goal of this show is, the why, and is your story meeting that, right? Because there's a need that my listeners have, or that my listeners might know somebody that needs that, that my listeners know somebody that has a need that needs to be met. That was chopped. um and I want to make sure that that is fulfilled, right? So I can't just have anybody on here. I can't just have any conversation. I'm like very selective, and also very in tune with certain sensitivities, both, and like understanding that real raw conversation needs to be had. So can this person like also deliver on that and be as authentic and honest with where they are? And I'm not looking for like accolades, right? If you think back to some of the episodes, one lady that I had on, her domestic violence stories, her domestic violence story was crazy. Like she died and like came back. Like she could have just, there are no accolades, right? The accolade is that she's still living, that she survived mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? She's also still in the depths of what healing from that looks like because she has children, right? Then there's another episode where I had Brother James on, and like I was listening to that the other day, and I'm reading his bio, and I'm just like, bro, why do you have me saying all these big like prestigious words, right? But like he's such a pristine person, like he's built such a beautiful career and life for himself, that like reading those don't even feel fake because I know him in real life, and this is him. Like reading that is like reading a character book on him. It's not even about like him being a doctor or having a PhD or like all of these things. I know him in real life, right? So discernment, right, of the substance of what one, this podcast holds, and two, who's coming into the space, right? Um, y'all know I don't hold nothing back, right? Sometimes I ask myself, like, why do I share so much? It keeps me authentic. It keeps me honest. It keeps me open. It keeps my heart open. I need people that are going to be able to do the same thing when they come into this space, right? Um, so if you're still in the thick of your healing journey, and I know that, I can sense that, I can see that, say that, right? Like, but we're all still in some area, some space of our healing journey. Um, Another definition of consistency is quality of achievement, right? Another one is agreement or harmony of parts or features to one another or a whole. Again, it's a whole thing, right? This one, I is this the one that I liked? This one is carrying out something the same way or something staying the same as it's achieved in a particular way. Yes, that's the one that I liked. I'm gonna say it one more time. Carrying out something the same way or something staying the same as it's achieved in a particular way. So the podcast is always gonna be, right? And I have to say, thank you for your patience. Thank you for the flows of me really like coming to a definition and a clarity of what visuals need to look like, what creativity needs to look like, down to the music. Like, I've changed the music again, right? Trying to really find the full embodiment of what defines voices of the body. Um, visually and aesthetically and all of those things, right? To match the space that's being cultivated, right? So as it grows, right, and I can see the growth, right, because I'm growing, I'm choosing to grow, I'm choosing to really hone in on my craft and really choosing to say yes to what if I do it this way? Well, what if I shift it around this way, right? Finding a new flow, right? Things are going to change because that's just how life is, right? Things change, right? But as long as the purpose stays the same, right? We always worry about the how, like how something is going to get delivered, how something is going to happen, right? Instead of just focusing on the what, right? What the something is. Um, this is a vehicle. Podcast is this podcast for me is a vehicle to additionally get things out that I work on, people that I meet, experiences, stories, all of those things. Um, so it's it's like it's always going to be the how, but like what the vehicle looks like is going to shift, right? Who's sitting next to me in the vehicle is going to shift, right? What kind of music we're playing on the ride is going to shift. The flow, right, is going to shift. So there are 15 things that I just allowed myself to free write what came to me when asking the question, what have I learned about myself and what have I learned about consistency? Number one, consistency is faithfulness, right? When we think about faithfulness, we think about, I don't know how it's going to look, but I'm going to keep going because I believe in it, right? I have faith that it's going to produce. I have faith that it's going to do what it is set out to do, right? And I believe that it's been doing that, right? But it's also faith in myself that I'm able to do it, right? Even moving through, man, there's so many shifts and changes that has happened since I started this podcast, right? So keeping faith in this product, keeping faith in this journey, keeping faith in this vehicle to still be what it needs to be, right? And still bringing my experience to this space to deliver what needs to be delivered. So, number one, faith is consistency. Number two, consistency is trusting, right? Do you trust? I think when you trust in something, you have faith in it, you're able to be consistent, right? Because there's gonna be days where I like there's days where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing this today, but I want to do this, right? Motivation, like is gonna be the thing, right? Remembering the why, right? You're like the motive, right? Motivation is motive. What's your motive, right? If money is always the motive, is that going to be sustainable? Is it going to be fruitful, right? I think we have to look past that, right? Monetization is a thing. We should be monetizing. We should be getting paid for the things that we enjoy. I think the test is, can you do it without getting paid, right? If someone said to you, I want to see what you're able to do in 1 year without getting paid, right? And if I can see your consistency in that 1 year, starting the first day of moving into year two, I will start paying you $50,000 a month. I wish, but like prove my point, right? Because and I believe like people are watching, people pay attention to everything. They want to see your consistency. They want to see, are you going to do what you set out to do? Right? This is my dharma, I believe. Like this is part of my dharma. Number three, consistency says that no matter what, I'm going to make this a priority, right? No matter what, I'm going to make this a priority, right? First thing in the morning, I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. on like whatever day I'm recording this. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning and I look over, and this is why I don't take my mic down, right? This is why I need a space where like I can just leave it up because it's gonna look at me and I'm gonna look at it and be like, yeah, girl, here I come. Like, let's get this going, right? Consistency is says no matter what, I'm going to make this a priority. Number four, consistency tracks what you believe to be true, right? Consistency tracks what you believe to be true. I believe to be true that this podcast is not only healing myself, but also healing other people. I believe to be true that there are people in the world who have a very impactful story who don't believe that their story is impactful and want to and want to share it but don't know how, and that I've cultivated a space for people to do that. I believe to be true that there are people in the world who are looking for something that gives them permission to say yes to themselves, that gives permission to say yes to healing something that they felt like they shouldn't even need to revisit or reopen, right? I believe to be true that my voice is powerful and that other people are looking for confirmation in the power in their own voice and that I give that to them, right? Number five, consistency brings alignment. Ooh, this is also very true. When I look back over this past year, I can see the alignment in some of the conversations I've had with people, even how it's brought me into where I am in this very present moment, right? Where I am energetically, where I am mentally, where I am physically, where I am geographically, right? There's a powerful story here in Cambodia that I really want to dive deeper in, but there's also another side of that story that the people do not talk about. And I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I want to find that story because it's very parallel to this podcast, right? It's man, all right, that's a different podcast. Um Number six, consistency brings growth and expansion. So much growth of expansion. I think me being consistent in doing this podcast now that I'm in another country, I'm able to authentically have conversation with other people from around the world. And now they want to tap into this podcast. So it's not just a US thing anymore, right? And I've known some people from other countries when I started it, but that expansion, right? And I don't just walk around like, oh, I have a podcast. I have a podcast. You should listen to it, right? Sometimes I don't even mention that I have it, right? I let myself, I just love good conversation with people, right? I love good in-depth conversation with people. Don't give me no surface shit. Excuse my mouth. I don't know who's listening. But don't give me no surface stuff. Like, I will walk away. I hate surface conversation. I hate moments where like we're both sitting in quiet and stillness and you just have to say something. It's like you don't have to say anything, honestly. Like, and that will make me like disconnect my energy from connecting with you also. Like, I've learned a lot and I've expanded a lot internally. And people forget, like, you have to expand internally first before you start seeing expansion on your outer world, right? Our inner world is a reflection of our outer world. Our outer world is a reflection of our inner world, right? But it goes both ways. So what you see, feel, hear, and proclaim within you, you're gonna see it without on the outside of you, right? I believe every time it rains here, it's raining glitter. But I also believe that this is a very magical place. I also believe that I'm a very magical person. I believe that I've tapped into a power deep within me that was waiting for me to touch it. So, yes, consistency brings growth and expansion. Number seven, consistency exposes authenticity. Yeah, Because there's something said for being able to come back weekly, right? As a host, but also as a listener, right? It starts to show you what you authentically gravitate towards, what you authentically know that you need and want for yourself, right? I think if you're hungry enough, you're going to go find what it is that you need, right? Um, but it's also going to come to you in a form that you think it's how you need it, but it's not, right? Number 8, consistency brings and builds momentum. I taught this in a yoga class the other day, in an asana class the other day. With like some postures that we flowed through, right? It's like really teaching people how to catch the momentum, right? So a lot of the people I've been meeting here, like it's been really cool and affirming that we're all just like flowing, right? We're in this space where it's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna flow. I'm just gonna allow things to be, not plan, just really allow my soul to flow. And I find that that has been more fruitful for me in the people that I meet, the places that I discover, like the things that I discover about myself and the world around me, the things that I learn more about, like the Kamar people here, the just everything, than me trying to find this rigid plan of something, right? Is there things on the back end that I'm also learning about myself that this is giving me like really that has been really divinely timed for me to learn? Absolutely. But there's this thing in flow where it's like you gotta feel into the momentum, right? When you feel that momentum, you gotta run with it, right? Just keep going, right? And so in the asana class, it's like you go into like a plank pose and then you move the body over into a side plank and then just allow the momentum to move you. Maybe it takes you into what is that pose? Man, it's on the tip of my tongue. Well, you just flow, right? Feeling into the momentum, right? So, doing this podcast the past year, I feel into I've been really learning how to feel into that momentum, right? Even like last season, I like just stopped because the momentum has stopped. Like something paused, right? Something even stopped internally and then something I felt stop externally, right? And it was also just getting frustrating because there like the space wasn't conducive to what I needed it to be to properly record and storage my equipment properly. And it's hot. It's really hot. It gets really, really hot. Like the sun is different here. Um, so my equipment wasn't acting right, and it was a lot, and I could just feel that I just needed to stop after I did the book club series. So yeah, like consistency brings and builds momentum. Number 9, consistency tells God that He can trust you and that you're serious and prepared for more. There's a scripture that says, "Be faithful over a few things, and I will make you ruler over more," right? I believe that wholeheartedly. If you can't steward and manage this one thing, right, and like really identify the many intricate pieces that are needed to draw, like the attention that is needed to doing a podcast is a lot, right? But it's helped me build structure, right? When I show people, certain people, my structure and how I plan out my episodes and what I want to do, what I want to talk about, like all of that. Like I have a notebook. I also have a pages document in in my MacBook. Like there's like it's a whole thing. Like there's I like before I record, I have to like set like it takes hours to get these out, right? It takes hours of preparation and strategy and like for me like a different space of meditation and prayer, and because I want to, I don't ever want to misinform. I never want to come off like I know everything. I just want to share what I know, what I've been through, what I've learned, and have people come and do the same thing. Um, Number 10, consistency brings discipline, self-awareness, and self-control. There we go. It's made me also mindful of what I share, right? And how I share it. Because it could be one of two things. It could be a complete bash session, right? I can come on here and just bash people that have hurt me. I can come on here and just bash all kinds of, yeah, like, but what is that serving? Right? Those emotions are not for you. They're not for my listeners. Those are for me to deal with in private and then come to this space in a different way, right? Shifted. So it's a lot of like duality and shifting a perspective and a lot of self-control. Um, if you recall when I shared my miscarriage story and my domestic violence story, especially this domestic violence story, right? I was very intentional. Like I didn't want to share it because I wasn't really sure of what kind of space I was in, right? And I remember just praying about it, and I remember just hearing, you have to come from a different perspective, right? Yes, this hurt you, but how can you show people that forgiveness is still able to be given, that compassion is still able to be given, right? That acceptance of what is a thing that has to be done, right? Because we have a hard time accepting what is. It just is what it is at this point, right? That this person, that other people, like that for other people who have been in situations and spaces where they've been just wronged, right? Just in a really bad um energetic experience with other people, to where it's basically like broken them or attempted to break them, right? That they are still a child of the Most High. That person with those, that not so good energy flow that has wronged them or hurt them, they are still a child of God. That they are still being loved, right? That they still deserve love. That they still deserve all of these fruits that you're healing to. Like that was a very like so if I wasn't like if I didn't have control of myself, I would have got on here, said the person's name, and bashed the hell out of them. But then what would that have served, right? That's work for me to do in private, and it's there's something to be said to come weekly and not do that, right? Like there's podcasts out there that probably have a space for that, for bash sessions. This is not one of those. Number 11, consistency builds strength and endurance. Absolutely. Because when life happens, then what? Right? Then what? You gonna keep going or you gonna cry about it? If it's especially if it's something that you really want, are you gonna keep going? You gonna cry about it? Consistency, number 12, consistency creates connection. Number 13, consistency will bring motivation. It's such a weird dance, consistency and motivation, right? But when you always come back to your why, your motive, right? What's your motive? Forget the why. What's your motive, right? What is your motive, right? What's your motive? If your motive is to just like brag that you have a podcast or brag that you're doing something, you're not going to be consistent in it. There's not going to be no real integral fruit there, right? But if your motive is, okay, I want to keep bringing healing to other people. I want to keep allowing people to reflect and dive deeper within themselves, right? When you make it less about you and more about other people, right? And being a servant, it comes back to being a servant, right? This is me serving you all, right? It's just my life is the platform for that. But Number 14, consistency keeps you focused. Absolutely, right? Number 15, consistency removes people, places, and things. When you get serious about your motive, when you get serious about your why, when you get that tunnel vision into this is what I'm doing and I got to stay on it. I got to stay on it. I got to make sure I record my episode and have it out on this day at that time, right? It's not, okay, I have to shift and pivot, right? Those things are going to happen. You're going to have to shift, you're going to have to pivot, right? But you start weeding out people who are not serious. You start weeding out people who are not like pure in their intentions for being around you, and like you start weeding out like places that you go because this is where I need to be. This is where I want to be. I want to stay sharp, right? I want to stay sharp in all that I do because the people that I'm called to, the people that I'm meant to service and deliver and be in communion and communication and space with, they need something. They're going to need something from me that I have to be 100,000% clear and sharp on. So I don't care who's not by my side anymore, right? Because the right people that are by my side are going to be there and they're going to keep me sharp. I'm going to keep them sharp. Like iron sharpens iron. I don't want that dual stuff around me, right? Um, I want authenticity around me, right? I want serve and return, right? Serve and return is definitely an early childhood lingo that I just naturally flowed out my mouth. Serve and return is that back and forth relationship between child and parent, right? It's literally like the baby coos and the parent responds. It's just like, ooh. And then the baby sees that the parent responds, and now they're going back and forth. It's an energy exchange, right? But it's an authentic and intentional one, right? There's no hidden motive to it. There's no underlying thing, right? Um, Four things that I've learned about consistency. One, two, three. Okay, three things that I've learned about consistency. Consistency can be hard if you commit to the wrong thing. There we go. I be saying stuff that I like have planned to, I have wrote out and planned to say like in a specific order, but here we go, right? Um, Consistency will be challenging if your intentions are not pure. You can't be consistent in a relationship if all you're trying to do is have sex. Like if you're only trying to have sex and you're not being honest about that being your intention, or if you're only trying to get whatever it is that you need or want from this person and you're not clear, like you're not even honest about, listen, I just want money from you. You can't have a consistency is going to be hard for you because you're not being pure. You're not coming from a pure place. Um, where there is no consistency, there is no fruit. You only know a tree by the fruit it bears, right? If it's an apple tree, it's always going to be consistent in planting and growing apples. You're only going to see apples fall from that tree, right? Um, I want to say thank you to the listeners that have been consistent in coming back every single week since the day this podcast started. I am so grateful for your consistency, your yes to your growth, your yes to hearing me talk about anything and everything, right? Your yes to the meditations, the journaling space, your yes to just like staying curious with me, right? Because I'm curious now as to where this can go and how far it can reach and how many people it can touch and the lives that it can change, and also the creativity that I bring into it. As I shift and change and grow. Like, so thank you for your consistency. This podcast has taught me so much about myself and my ability, and what actually is really important to me that I thought was like not important to me, or that I may have written off or thought that I wasn't capable of. So I thank you for your presence. I thank you for the feedback, the text messages, the shares on Instagram, the DMs, the Facebook Messenger, like even like friends, close friends that are listening. Like, I think that means a lot to me also. That means so much to me because you see me different. You honor my growth. Yeah, this, I love doing this. Y'all, it's bad. Like, I'm working on time management. Y'all pray for me, meditate on it for me. Send me some time management energy because I can get on here and talk, y'all. I can get on here and talk, but it's also a safe space that I've created for myself to be able to talk, So yeah, stay tuned. I think this is gonna be, I feel this season feels different. It feels refreshing. It feels really new. It feels good already. Just the ideas and the people that I'm gonna be having on. You'll hear more interviews because I love talking with other people, and I think there's a space that I thrive in deeper when it comes to doing interviews. Um, yeah, and it's I'm breaking things up a little bit because I refuse to pay for Zoom. I'm just gonna be honest about that. And Zoom's the only place that I know how to strip. I might be too honest on here, but I don't care. Like, I love y'all, and y'all love me. Yeah, yeah. I hope whatever is trying to break your consistency in whatever it is that you're trying to learn consistency in and through, that thing falls to the wayside, and that you find a deeper understanding of your motive, because that's going to help you stay consistent. Yeah. I love you all for free. I love you all for free. See you next time.